I've been very busy with school, but since I'm here on spring break and I have some time, I just finished my shit, what did I just finish studying? I just finished studying hypertension and preeclampsia. Yeah. So I'm gonna teach you I'm gonna teach you hands. I'm gonna teach you hands. So how I do hands is a little different. Because I've there's ways to do it normally, and the way I was taught how to do it, and it's the way I kind of tell everyone is to use your own hands as reference. So like if my hand was kind of like I don't know if I made a fist, I would use my own. I would look at my hand and I would actually try to draw it in like different angles. So that's the way I kind of start doing that. But if I wanted to draw like any hand in any position, and maybe I can't get that, I would try to use like models that like little wooden models, or I would use online references, and there's like 3D models. You can actually kind of like change the way you want things to look. Um, or you could do what's it called? I think it's called line of action. I believe those sites called Line of Action. They have a bunch of models. They can be clothed or unclothed, almost any age. And it actually helps you like with different poses, and almost all of them, you see their hands, and you can actually just like focus on their hands and try to work on those. But I'm gonna show you like that's like just to help on your own. But I'm gonna show you the basics of how I actually draw hands on my own. So I'm gonna draw just like just a basic hand. So what I do first is I would figure out like I draw a little box or a little square. So that's what I do first, because this is like the palm of your hand. And after that, I kind of like figuring out where the wrist is going to be. So I know that our wrist can move in any way. It can move up or down, side to side. It's a circular thing, so it's kind of like a nice joint that moves either way. So I would do a little circle. And then after that, I can start figuring out what I want things to look. I'm just gonna make the hand kind of like spread out, kind of like like that kind of look with all the fingers. So what I'm gonna do first is I like kind of doing. Messed that up already. I just kind of do this first, just so I know it's going up that way. So I'm gonna just kind of eh, 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 eh. So now I know where the middle finger is going to be, how big or small the fingers are going to be. And then the hardest part's the thumb. The thumb's really hard. So I would look at my hand and I would look at my wrist, and I would say from where my wrist is to my thumb, I know it's in a diagonal. It's going to go like that. So my thumb is going to be about here-ish. So that's where my thumb's going to be. All right. So then I can start kind of figuring out where the fingers are going to be. I know this is my middle finger. I'm actually probably going to fix that a little bit. Put it like right there. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'll bring this guy down. There we go. All right. Let me see. This boy's gonna have really small fingers. All right. I can fix that. So I'm just gonna place one line here. So now I know. Oh, wait. I'll place one line. Right. So a little finger there. Right there. Right there. And if that doesn't work, what you can do, this is what I also do. I try to make sure I know that our hands actually naturally go up. So there's a little small arc. The joints between your fingers is not just like a flat. Pretend that's flat. It's actually kind of like you'll have the first finger, and then if you look, it kind of goes up a little bit to the second one, and then starts going back down. So it's kind of like a little arch. So I'm going to try to do that, just so I know. I'm going to try to make that as good as possible. And then that allows me to know that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. All right. It's okay to make it a little bigger. There we go. Now I can do that. So I have 1, 2. Your pointer finger and your ring finger are going to be on about the same height, and then your pinky finger is the smallest. All right. Then I just kind of start roughing things out. The thumb only has like two places to move compared to your fingers, which have three. So this one's going to be a little shorter. This is going to be, let's see, like that. And like it moves out a little bit. So I could start with the thumb. So I start kind of roughing it out where it's like this is where the thumb kind of is. This is what it looks like. Kind of allows me to know where even like if I were to draw like a little thumb pouch or whatever the fuck that is, the little line, I could do that. Then I have this guy. It's just like that. And then for this, I start kind of like going 1, 2, 3. And since this one's a little higher up and a little longer, it's going to go up 1, 2, 3. This should be roughly the same as the first one. So 1, 2, 3, 3. And then this one's going to be the smallest. So 1, 2, 3. All right. Now I want to keep red. I'm going to just add a little layer just so it's a little easier for me to see. All right. After that, I kind of just start going over it. So I know that the wrist kind of, it's a slow decline into it. Like that. And it kind of goes out a little bit when I stretch my hand out. But I got weird hands, so that's probably just me. Going in like that. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm still looking at my hand. The whole time, I'm just like, I'm switching back and forth and back and forth. So let's see. We got that. And I already know for a fact I did a little goof. I am going to just kind of, yeah. Perfect. All right. Now I did that, I can just kind of, Sometimes what helps me is I like making little areas of where I know the first line's going to be, and then I can just kind of erase it. Or not. Sometimes I keep it there to show like, oh, it's the hard creases of the finger. Usually I erase it though. And my fingers always have that weird little webbing right there. Yeah. Like that. And I know that they're going to kind of go in and out with each other, so I kind of just naturally do that. I just start kind of, and one of my fingers, not this one, but the next one, my ring finger actually does have a little turn to it. Always has. It's bothered the shit out of me since I was a little kid. So, but if I wanted to go realistic, I could actually add that dent in naturally. So I can just kind of, it's got a little turn. Little turn right there. There's that little turn. Hate that little turn. That. And then the last one, because when you spread your fingers all the way out, they don't all go in one line. Your pinky finger and your pointer finger usually go out more. So if I wanted to go for reality, I would probably actually draw this one. Spread out a little more. Kind of like kind of like that. Because these two usually stay up, and then I'd have to move this one a little bit. But then, that means I can move this a little bit. You see, the whole thing is just building. I take it, and then I just kind of mess with it. And if I realize, something's not right, I just slightly change it. I know it's different because you do traditional art, and when I do it traditionally, you should see I have like, there's a blue color I use to like get everything set up, and then after that I use this red color on top of it, so I know for a fact that's what I want to draw, and then I get my graphite, and then I do on top, and it's like, it's just constant improvement and over improvement. So I do that too, don't worry. But let me see, and then I just kind of do that, make sure it's not bigger than all the other ones. Alright, and now that I have that, I could just do very simple like ideas of, I know that that's one area, I know it's one little crease, that's a crease, and then this crease is right here, and I know there's a little pocket, it's like a little indent right there, and that's kind of where the next line's going to be. It's kind of like thin, and then you have that. I have this kind of line right here, and then I have this line that kind of goes all the way down, and I have another line that goes all the way down, and they both kind of connect and then go off to the side, kind of to where my thumb is connected. And then just kind of see? It's not the best hand, but it's a hand. And then you can add little tiny like creases here. And you can always, and I use these as like the idea of where these creases are going to be. You can add 2. Perfect. Alright. So that's like a rough idea of a hand. Rough concept. Alright. And that only took a few minutes. So it's not, like I said, it's not too difficult. It's just a lot. There we go. I didn't want to do that. I just kind of want to do this. There we go. Alright. So if I wanted to do something similar, what I could do for, like you just kind of do it for different poses, different things, and you just kind of want to stretch your, what's it called? It's called your mental library. So if I wanted to do a fist, then instead of it just being like a square, I would actually do a cube. I would like look at where I want it to be. If it's going to be like facing that direction, then I kind of want to be like, all right, well this part's going to be here. So we have that. And so we have that. If it's going to be directly facing, then I already know for a fact I'm just going to Now I know in 4 dimensions what this fist is going to look like. So now I know like this knuckle is going to be the largest, and then you're maybe I'll see like, I don't know, maybe I'll see like one kind of a little farther out, or maybe it would be kind of like maybe over here because it's like the middle finger, kind of like that. Like that kind of. Like rough idea. And then I know the thumb's going to be right here. There we go. Like I'm not trying to do something like super amazing, awesome, cool, hyper realistic. I'm going to try to just make it as normal looking as possible, so it's like, yeah, that's a fist, like that makes sense. If I wanted to do something where the hand is tilted, which in most art and in most even media, if you look at how people use their hands, you're rarely gonna see them with like their hands like perfectly like facing out, just like you only see one portion, like the top of their hands or the bottom of their hands. You usually see it turned. So if I wanted to do a tilt, I would kind of show where I want the tilt to be. So I'm gonna make the tilt kind of like, so like I'm gonna say that's the that, and then I know it's gonna be like, actually wait, no, I'm doing that in reverse. I don't usually do it like that, sorry. So let me see that. So I'm doing it where I take my left hand and I just kind of turn it like a little bit. So I see a little bit at the top, like I see where my first knuckle is, like the top of my first knuckle, and then I see like, I can still see the full palm. What I do is I kind of say, this is where the part that's facing me is going to be. Then I have this. All right. So that's like my first concept. Second one, I'm going to start kind of going inward a little bit because I know my hand kind of goes in. All right, and then now that I know that this is where the palm, that side part ends, this is where the actual palm begins, I can actually start figuring out where the fingers are going to be, where the thumb's going to be. So I know that's my wrist. My wrist kind of goes like this, and it's a little there, so like that, and I know that, whoop, it's a little diagonal, so my knuckle's going to be right here for my thumb. Like that. And then, perfect. Then I have my first knuckle right here. There is a usual common mistake I see I've done this for a million times, and I only recently learned it. I want to say in like the last year, but I see it in a lot of artists when they make this mistake because hands are hard to draw. They draw the knuckle like here, kind of like it's still on the palm, but it's not. It's right at the edge. So if you draw it right here, it allows you to kind of have that, like, it goes up and in, kind of makes it a little easier. So that's what helps me. What helps me, actually no, what helps me most is if I kind of show where the placement of the fingers are going to be. And that might look weird as hell at first because you're like, why is it going that way? If it's the other way, and it's like, no, it makes sense. And then I show that that's where it's going to kind of place. So when I do that, it kind of helps me know it's going to go up, up. Kind of like that. And then I can kind of start fucking with it a little more. So it's like, I know this, and then I know I have this, and then I know and then I know, like, as the finger's going to go, it's going to get thicker. And then once it gets to this part, it's going to be a chunky boy. I know that. So we're going to have that. And then I can start kind of like messing with the way things look more. I can kind of start doing this. I know where everything kind of is the moment I make that first finger. So I have that. Kind of goes in. And then I have this guy. And it kind of overlaps. And then the last one you can barely see. So I'm going to kind of do that. And then I can just kind of there we go. And there, see? It looks like a lot, but it's not really as much as you think. And as long as you aren't going for hyper realism where you want every little nook and cranny, it'll be fine. Usually when when I first started doing this, and I had to start kind of learning how to do like the realistic aspects of art for school, I got stuck in the trap of trying to make everything as realistic looking as possible. It's like I have to make this look like as like I have to make this look as I was just about to do that. I was like, oh, I have to get this tiny little of the finger. I have to do that, but you don't have to do that. What you do is you exaggerate things on purpose to try to give more life to it. You want things to be a little different than what they actually looks like in real life, because in real life it's harder to make something more it's harder to like make something pass as readable. Like it's why you see happy faces like this compared to like the kind of realistic idea of what a happy face is. Like you don't have ear to ear. It's like that. So I think you'll be fine with drawing hands. It's not too difficult. Just, box. Oh shit. Like you draw a box. And then you can do this to kind of figure out where the hands are going to be, like, so you know where the middle finger is, and then it kind of like helps like understand where the placement of the other ones are. Once you figure out where the wrist is, you just do a little diagonal. Now you know where the thumb is. Not too bad. Once you do that, or once you learn how to do like a little box of where you want the hands to be, of like how you want the hands to look, you learn like the dimensions of that. You can just kind of like start learning where everything else kind of goes in place. See? So I think you'll do fine. It's not too bad. I think the harder thing are feet, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do feet. So that's why all my characters have giant boots, because I don't want to do feet. But yeah, I hope this helped in some capacity.